Meta scores a win in the battle over whether or not its use of copyrighted materials is considered fair use for its Llama large language model. Hi, I'm Derek Fahhee. I'm a registered patent attorney and IP attorney with the Plus IP firm. And this is going to be a video or post about the recent case, Cadre versus Meta Platforms, that was decided in favor of Meta. And I wanted to go through the analysis about why the court found this was considered fair use. Again, I'm not going to bury the lead. The court did find that Meta's use of the copyrighted materials was fair use, but if you read the opinion, the judge was not super happy to do that. In fact, I'm going to read from read right here. It says, given the state of the record, the court has no choice but to grant summary judgment on Meta on the plaintiff's claim that the company violated copyright law by training its models for their books. So the judge begrudgingly, it seemed like in the opinion, actually ruled in favor of the defendants and against the plaintiffs, and found that the use of the copyrighted materials was found to be fair use. So let's back up a little bit. Plaintiffs sued Meta Platforms for use of its book to train its large language models. And in response, Meta moved for summary judgment, which is based upon all the facts that has been brought out in the case, to see whether this basically says that based upon matter of law, you just cannot go to trial. And the court granted the motion for summary judgment. And we're going to go through the step-by-step analysis. So the first factor in the fair use analysis is the purpose and the nature of the use of the copyrighted material. This particular factor was actually found in favor of Meta. And the court found, I'm actually going to read part of this opinion here. It says, so copying the books to develop a tool that can perform the functions is a use which is a different purpose and character than the books themselves. Essentially, the court found that that factor weighed in favor of a finding of fair use because it was transformative. Even though it copied the books, it pulled the information and created this whole new thing, this model that was found to be transformative use. It was using the information in a transformative way. The second factor in the fair use analysis is actually the nature of the copyrighted work. And that actually weighed in favor of the plaintiffs. The court found that in that particular factor that they actually copied this original work, and the court didn't buy the Meta's argument that the nature of the use was intermittent copying. It said, the court essentially said, and I'll read another quote from you here. It said, here by contrast, Meta's LLMs are used to generate high quality text. They need coherent, reasonably high quality training data. In other words, they need high quality expression. Therefore, the intermediate copying cases don't apply. That's a kind of a big deal. The court didn't buy the argument that it was considered intermediate copying and said, hey, you copied this original work. It's actually going to weigh in favor of a finding of not fair use against the defendants. On the third factor, the court, which is the amount and substantiality of the portion used, the court actually found in favor of Meta. That's actually even the amount of the work that was used. The court said, even though you're copying all of these books in order to use the information in order to train your LLMs, it's actually using it, all of the work, to create this transformative use, so we're going to side in favor of Meta. And the court found in favor of Meta. On the last factor, that's really where the court actually kind of dug in and, I want to say chastise the plaintiffs, but really kind of, explain why he ruled the way he did. And that's the factor for the effect upon the use of the market for the original work. And the court really said, listen, if you're going to try to prove this, one of the things you need to prove is that the market is flooded with substitutes, and it's actually going to harm your ability to sell your work, and you're going to lose money. And the court really found that the plaintiffs in this particular case didn't prove that. In fact, I'm going to read actually what he said here. He says, bear with me here. I'll pull it up here. It says, the plaintiff's presentation is so weak that it does not move the needle. or even give rise to a dispute of fact sufficient to defeat the motion for summary judgment. So the court really, the court really said, based upon my reading of it, it's almost like he wanted to rule in favor of the plaintiffs, but he didn't have the evidence to do that. So ultimately, the court found that it was not considered, what was considered fair use. So while Meta won this particular battle, I do believe that this particular judge in the Northern District of California, Judge Chachamria, I just misspoke that, but Judge, let's see here, Chachamria actually ruled in a way that left the door open for future plaintiffs if they can prove that it was somehow they were substantially harmed by the models. And I think it's going to come down to that factor. The court in particular found that and pointed out that the fourth factor is the most important. So if plaintiffs can actually prove that, then I think they have a shot, especially in front of this particular judge. So something to think about. Hopefully you enjoyed this analysis on the continuing saga about whether or not generative AI models' use of copyrighted material is considered fair use. Thanks for watching. Please, if you liked the video, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It helps myself and my team members, families. Thanks so much for watching.